Stand-up comedy now for 25 years. You might want to Google that. But never have I introduced somebody that I have more affection for. One of the greatest rock singers, you know him as a singer of the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and then of course, what I think is the most approachable band I've ever known. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I've met people when you talk about Slaughter and they go, oh, they're friends of mine. You know how many thousands of people I've met who said they're friends of mine? Because they were always such approachable people that people feel a connection to them. And it's something I've always taken on, that I've learned from Mark and his band to be like, why do you have to be unapproachable? Why can't anybody be more like Mark? I love him. I want to kiss him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mark Slaughter. I'm not going to kiss you. I was just saying that I have such a... Okay. All right, fine. Give me a shoehorn. Let's do it. All right. Mark, say hello.
Hello there, everybody. It is great to be a part of this whole Expo thing and to see my good friend. It's been so great. I got to see Craig and, of course, all the KISS guys, but what a blast.
It really is. It's really neat. And when I heard you were going to be here, I was really excited because over the years, I've developed a friendship with him. And I got to say, if you haven't heard it, I love hearing a good impression. And I love doing impressions. But better than anything is when someone does an impression that nobody's ever attempted. That's why I love being able to do, I never hear anybody do Paul Stanley. The great thing about being in KISS is talking softer than anyone who's ever lived. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Or doing, I do a 2-word impression of Tom Kiefer, which is simply, sing it! That's the whole impression. But he not only does the best C.C. DeVille impression I've ever heard, but he broke it down for me when I went, how do you do that? And he explained it to me, and if you don't mind, and this isn't why you're here. I'm being very selfish for the first 2 minutes, but how do you get the C.C.? A little bit of what and a little bit of what?
Well, C.C. is, first of all, it's getting rasp in your voice. And it's that thing that once you get the rasp, but then it's trying to get the rhythm. Anything is rhythm. Like, for instance, we both know how to do Gene Simmons very well.
From KISS.
From KISS, of course. Right. Because there's no better band in the world than KISS. Do you know that KISS has sold more records than the Beatles?
That's right.
In some places.
I got in trouble, and Gene put out a press release because he said, I just want you to know I was not on the air in Detroit. That was a comedian. Please stop sending your hate mail. I did not make any jokes about cancer. And what I said was, they were asking me, and I'm in character as Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons taking phone calls from fans. And then they said, well, let's be honest, KISS influenced everybody. I said, of course. Not only did we influence every musician, here's a breaking story, KISS invented cancer. And they said, what? KISS invented cancer. And we have a cure, but it'll cost you. Go to kissonline.com. And people, what the fuck? Yeah.
That's great.
Gene got upset and he put out a press release. And I'm telling you, this is one of the most beautiful impressions I've ever heard in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, C.C. DeVille.
Listen, I love KISS. Listen, Gene's fantastic. I love him. Listen, I love this guy too. Listen, the very first time I heard him do his Gene Simmons thing, I was dying. I couldn't believe it. Fantastic.
I'm gonna charge you $20 for this conversation, CC. If anybody has a question, any question, Mark Slaughter is here for you. Raise your hands. And Davey, who's still in the Navy, is gonna be walking around. It's a Billy Joel reference, for God's sakes, people.
It's certainly not the hair reference.
Billy Joel, who was stolen from KISS. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm David, and I'm from Twin Cities.
All right.
Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I came all the way down here to Indianapolis for this.
Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, and my question is, how did KISS, How did Slaughter?
No, you meant Kiss. Go ahead.
That's what we're here for, is Kiss. By the way,
it includes Kiss, by the way. How did Slaughter get on tour with Kiss back in like '91?
it really is. The truth of the matter is it was what Carrie said. She knew Blas. Blas gave her a tape after we finished the record. We held the record for 6 months, and we had the tape floating around just in small little circles. And then we gave it to Eric. Or she gave it to Eric. Eric took it to Gene and Paul, and of course, Gene was watching. Listen, I think we're starting to get some action on this Slaughter thing. So, of course, it turned into, Paul, what do you think? And next thing you know, we were out on tour. In fact, the first show that we ever played as a band was in Lubbock, Texas on May 4th with Kiss. It was 28 years ago.
You remember the date? Do you remember dates like that? Do you remember?
May the 4th be with you.
Well, I know it's May the 4th be with you. That's one easy way to remember that.
Yeah.
But this is before people would say May
No.
the 4th be with you.
It's just it's that, and there's certain things that you do remember over the years. And
There's
of
just
course-
such, and that's a pretty big moment.
Yeah. When we came off the stage, there was a gold record waiting for us in the
Oh, wow.
dressing room. So we were like, wow, this day is awesome. We opened for Kiss. And then like, no way, we got a gold record.
Well, there you go. That's how you remember a date like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Do we have another, where's Davey at? Oh, he's
Right here, Craig.
Another question? Anybody have another question right here in the front row? What's your name? Where are you from?
Curtis. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Short
All right.
trip. What's the name of your first band, and what kind of music did you guys play?
First band was Excursion. That was actually, I look at as a legitimate band. And as far as influences, it was Kiss, it was Rush, it was Led Zeppelin, it was Black Sabbath. And I was very progressive because I was a guitar player more than I thought of myself as a singer. So I would do all these, Taurus pedals and double necks and all that stuff, and went into teaching. So inevitably, I think that, the music that, just like everybody else, the songs that you love that influence your life, that's what makes you your musical environment. And, that's pretty much the influences of what made it happen for me. But Excursion, we did a couple of vinyl things. I was 17 years old. We put one out called Skull Queen.
Skull Queen?
Yes,
All
of
right.
course. Yes. We were just as perverted as Gene was on that.
What did you do with the skulls? And how much did you charge people to do it to their skulls?
Another question for Mark. Raise your hand. Davey will come around.
Right here.
In the middle of the room, what is your name and where are you from, sir?
Jeff Shepler from Kansas.
Hey, Jeff.
What was your most memorable end of tour prank or prank on the road?
That's a big thing that bands would always do. Last day of tour.
Yeah, there's always a prank that people do, but I think my most memorable one is one that I actually did on Ted Nugent. Which, yes, I'm a little. See, Craig knows the goofy side of me because I'm a freaking goofball. Don't think of me as just a lead singer, I'm a goofball. So I call my friend. We were playing in Vegas, and I call up my friend. I'm like, hey, man, we're playing Vegas. Go over to Williams Costume Shop. Get me a panda suit. So he gets me a panda suit, right? So I get this panda suit, and I put on the panda suit, and I got my backstage pass, and I'm like, walking around with the panda suit, walking through the crowd like this, waving at people. People are like, hey, look, there's a panda, And I walk back and I knock on the door. And Ted steps back and he goes, and I go, hi, Ted, give me a hug. And he goes, and he steps back, and understand, this is a guy who carries a gun. Okay? Yeah, seriously. And he's got a 45 right here. And he gives me a hug. I pull the hat off. He goes, Mark Slaughter, you crazy son of a bitch. He goes, I thought you were one of those PETA fuckers, and I was gonna have to shoot you. And my last line to Ted was, I'm the one white meat you don't eat. Peace out.
Are you aware, because that was such a common thing when guys, you would hear about these legendary stories at the end of a tour, there was always price, and sometimes you'd attend a concert and something crazy would happen, like, oh, this is the end of the tour, and they're all just fucking with each other. Did anybody take it personally that you're aware of?
Take it personally? No,
No.
not that I'm aware of. I mean, you just kind of go, oh God, here we go. What's going to happen? You know, one time when we were out on tour, I forget who we were with, but sound man, I jump out in the audience and I run through the crowd. Well, I go running through the crowd, and these guys, the sound company grabs the sound engineer and handcuffs him to me. So I had to drag him. I'm like, keep up, son. And I'm dragging his ass up to the stage, and we get up on stage, and he's just like, he didn't know what to do. There's nothing to do. He's handcuffed to me. I go, Don's going to be with us a while till somebody finds a key. But, that was like some of the crazy stuff. That
I like that someone might be seeing Slaughter for the first time going, is this a bondage band? What kind of shit is this?
Exactly.
Kind of weird. Raise your hand if you have a question for Mark. We'll come around. We've got someone over here in the second row, third row. What is your name? Where are you from, sir?
Travis Warden from Kansas City.
Hey, Travis. What's your question for Mark?
So I got a question. When the music scene shifted in the early 90s, was there a moment or a video or something that happened that you could see that was going to change things?
Well, that things were going to change. Well, that's a great question. What happened was the largest radio station in America turned its back on the whole genre, and that is, there's a guy named, I think it's Kevin Sigerson is his name, or he was a programmer of K-Rock. If you're not from LA, it's an alternative station. So what happened was, as this guy goes up, he's the new president of MTV. He said in Billboard magazine, I will no longer play Motley Crue, Poison, Slaughter, Warrant, etc., because this is defamatory towards women. We won't play this, and those videos are off our channel. And they stopped.
It was on a dime. There was just this whole audience of people going, what is going on?
And that's what happened. It's the largest radio station, so every radio station says, okay, that stuff's over. And here's, the new, Alice in Chains. And again, it's not like any of that music killed it. Nirvana was a great band. Soundgarden, Chris Cornell, God rest his soul, great band. Love that band. And they were just a rock band. It's not like, but everybody has to, every decade, say, well, it's this now, and here's the new label of it. Everything's labeled. It's psyched. It happens every 10 years. The radio, as we all know it, is changed and is gone.
It was interesting that there were bands that were coming out that had a different sound, different vibe, that were becoming popular, but it seemed like people were forcing that and forcing off the music that you wanted to hear off the radio.
And you know what? God bless Britney Spears for bringing back the miniskirt, because it was all those girls who get in the combat boots, and it was all good.
Boy, yeah, Britney Spears, she really gets it. Am I right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, one more.
What a talent.
More way than one, right?
What a talent. Have you ever seen that video? That's my favorite video, by the way, in the middle of her show, where she goes, my pussy's out. And I'm like, whoa, what's, that wasn't, it was picked up on the microphone? Look it up.
Right here.
Oh, yes. Oh, wait, are we looking at the Britney video, or we're talking to somebody? Okay. Yeah, we're talking to somebody over here. Yes, what is your name? Where are you from, sir?
Rodney from Bedford, Indiana.
All right.
First of all, Mark, love your new stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Great stuff. My question is how did you and Dana hook up with Vinnie Vincent, and what's Dana doing now?
Well, I'm still playing shows with Dana. If you look at markslaughter.com or slaughterusa.com, we're still doing shows. Dana is also micromanaging Vince Neil from Motley Crue. So all through the Motley Crue stuff and all that, he's been a part of that with Vince as a personal manager, so to speak. So half the time he's doing that. So that's kind of where all my, I started doing solo records, is because he's too busy doing that. I just want to make music. I just want to be musical. Dana, I'll see him next week. We're going to be playing out in outside Pittsburgh, and then we're doing a show at Rocky Gap, Maryland. So he's still around, and he's really look, when I first met Dana, he was producing a band called Sin, and the manager of that band basically called me up when I was teaching guitar and said, "We're doing vocals, you should come down." And then Dana gets on the phone and goes, "Hello, this is Dana Strum." Marcus,
That's a great impression.
Marcus, I think you should come down here. It's well worth your while to come and sing backgrounds for the band Sin. So I'm like, okay, great. Convince me. He's got that Gene thing. He just kind of makes it like, oh yeah, it is my idea. So I drove all the way down to LA. I go to do background vocals, and here's the craziest part. Very first time I met Dana Strum, we were over at the studio that Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones had in lockout all the time. And I don't know how he arranged us to get into the studio, but it's so blistering loud. And this time Dana drank Jack Daniels. It was so loud that the bottle of Jack Daniels would do this. And when it would get down to the bottom of the board, he would pop the cap off, hit a swig, put the cap back on, and put it way at the top of the board. It was like his limiting of his Jack intake. But that's when I first met Dana, and the guys from Black and Blue, which I knew, were there, including Tommy Thayer. In fact, I just found the picture not too long ago, and I sent it to Tommy. I go, "Dude, can you freaking believe this? It's the day I met Dana Strum, and we were all in the studio together singing backgrounds on this demo."
And you have the photo from the first time.
Yeah, I sent it to Tommy. He's like, "Wow, that's great. How crazy is that?" He's standing there with the beer in his hand, just like, "Wow, this is awesome." We're just all, young kids just doing it.
So when Dana said you need to come down and sing on this, was that the Vinnie Vincent?
No, but he did call Vinny saying, "I think this guy's really good." Dana was a believer in me all the way across the board, and also realized it's still about vocal ability. Dana would add like, "Who cares about guitar? You're a singer." And I'm like, I teach guitar, and he's like, "That's nice. You're a singer." So,
wow.
So then fast forward, they did the record with Robert, and then Dana would call me up every once in a while. "Listen, I know you're kind of busy. Don't quit your day job. Keep teaching. But at some point, I have a really great..." Because he didn't think it was going to work out with Robert, because he didn't think Robert was going to tour, and ultimately he didn't. And they had a couple auditions of different people, but the record label was like, let's take the young kid. I was 21 at the time. Wow. My kids are 23 and 20 at this point, so I'm looking at it going, God dang, I did it at that age?
Yeah.
These kids can't tie their shoes.
Tour the world. Wow. So it was Dana who made the connection.
It is Dana.
Who kept pushing you and getting you
Yes.
out. We have a question here in the middle. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Cody. I'm from Kansas. I was tired of all the guys asking questions.
Yeah, come on. Guys, bunch of dicks. Let's hear your question.
I want to know, if you could be a band member for a day of any band, together or not, then who would it be?
Any band. Dream gig.
Dream gig.
If you could say, you ever fantasize as a kid being a member of
Well, I mean, everybody, here's the truth. As a young kid, for me, I fantasized of playing in Kiss because it was cool. There's fire and there's rock and roll, and, there's all the songs about, backstage and the cool stuff, And, there was a thing about Kiss that was just rock and roll, And I loved Queen. I'm a big fan of Queen, but it's really funny that there wasn't one band that's it for me. It's basically, I think it's like I combed through all the stuff that
just loved rock music.
Just loved music, yeah. But it's funny because, as a kid, we did a show for the Jerry Lewis Telethon. And it was a couple of my friends. Listen, like
there's video of this somewhere?
No, there's no. They didn't have video back in those days. It was, and it's crazy because we're just young kids. I found the outfit that I wore in it, and I was about 11 years old, and I'm playing a little Les Paul. It was bigger than me, and we were just playing rock jams, and we were just part of the telethon out in Vegas.
Nice lady, which is very close to CC DeVille. That's how I came up with it initially.
Did you ever, comedians will early on have such an influence from somebody, they'll sound like that person when they first start out. Rosie O'Donnell famously said that her first stand-up, she didn't know it was not okay to do somebody else's jokes, and she went up and not only did a Jerry Seinfeld bit, she did it as Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh,
said,
that's funny.
Who are these people? And everyone was like, what are you doing? That's Jerry Seinfeld. She goes, I know, it's Jerry Seinfeld, I took it. And they go, you can't do that. Early on, did you, because you were such a fan, did you start out in one style because you wanted to sound like this guy or that guy? Or did you
I
always...
think it's a look, Kiss is a show. Kiss was, it's a circus, and it's always that. And it was always like, when I was a kid, I was about to say when I was about 12 years old, we'd stand outside and go, this looks like fire. We'd get powdered sugar and go, outside. But you got to do it outside because my mom will kill me. So I mean, it was just like all that stuff. And the funny thing is my dad, God rest his soul, he was an electrician, and we'd say, no, we need these flash pots with concussion powder, and and he's like, okay, well, I'll make those. So he made these giant flash pots with a pipe in it. And we almost blew the windows out of the school because they're like, hey, add some more concussion powder so it really shatters things. We almost blew the windows out of the school.
You almost kill yourselves at school trying?
No, it was safe. My dad taught me how to do it. It was all safe.
Wow, great question.
Yeah.
Next question. Oh, we're going over here? Oh, over here then, okay. What is your name? Where are you from, sir?
Brian from Northeast Illinois.
All right. Brian, what's your question?
All right, without getting too controversial, but I personally, I know, and probably most people have heard the Robert Fleischman story of sitting or watching TV and go, wow, who's this guy singing my lyrics on this video? What was your take on that? I mean, when they said, hey, we want you to come up here and,
It was, first of all, it was Vinny's songs. And I don't think Robert would, I'm not saying something, Robert wasn't really about the lyrics anyway. I mean, he's kind of saying, twisted, why am I twisted? Aliens invaded my mind, they stay. What the hell is aliens in my mind for? He didn't understand it, really wasn't his thing. He went in there and sang the shit out of it and did a great job. I have nothing but respect for Robert. But, I think with Robert, he's just like, Dana didn't see him as a singer. He really wasn't really into being part of the project. He didn't want to tour and do that. So I'm told. I haven't really talked to Robert and his side of it, but that's when I was getting the call, hey, you want to do this? So when I went to go do the video, it's like, well, you're just gonna lip sync to the video and you sing just like the guy, so we'll just do it, nobody will know the difference, it'll be just a swap and go. So that's inevitably how it happened.
By the way, not an uncommon thing. A lot of bands would use studio musicians on the albums, and there were guys that were in bands that were not playing on the album.
Yes.
That was not an uncommon occurrence. Great question.
Yeah.
Next question over here on the left side of the room. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, I'm Sean from Louisville, Kentucky.
All right. What's going on?
And my question actually is going to follow along the lines of that. After a few drinks, I love the Boys Are Gonna Rock video. I love it because...
After a few drinks?
Yeah, it's
all right.
Excellently...
After a few drinks, I'm into butt sex.
Hey,
I mean,
there's
whatever.
a lot of things.
Okay. I mean, after a few drinks, I'm kind of open to anything.
Three beers, it looks good.
After a few drinks, I fucking love Christina Aguilera. Jesus. After a few drinks.
That's true. Hey,
after cocaine, I'm into heroin.
It's a gateway drug. But with the video, it's so excessive as far as all the shots that are in this video. Can you guys give me any kind of background information of whose idea was it to do some of these things?
It was a Vinny at recent conventions, and he won't even acknowledge you and Dana by name. It's just that singer.
And who is this?
And I'm wondering what your take is.
Look, there's a difference. It's called a high road. I'm still making music. I was allow him to go and put in.
That's the high road right there.
Yeah, the high road is here. Go make music. You want to do it? Go make music. He's made great music, but the thing is since we left in '88, there has been no music. I wish him luck. He can say anything he wants negative about me, but here's where it's at. I love where I came from. I love who I've toured with, and I love the fans that we've met, whether it's VVI or Slaughter. We are thankful. And that's it.
My mouth was open, and I was about to do a joke, and then you said, I take the high road, and I went, oh, man.
Yeah. Listen.
We have time for, how many questions do we have time for? Do 2 more?
Let's just do one more.
Okay.
One more. We're going to end with a doozy.
I got one up here, one and one earlier.
But listen, I don't want to talk about that.
It better be a good one.
singer.
It's the last one. Are you sure this is good?
I don't want to talk about the
100%
other
sure.
singer.
What is your name, and where are you from?
My name is Ethan Hopper.
Hey, Ethan.
I'm from Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Right on.
And you, as a guitar player, did you take formal lessons, or did you learn to play it yourself?
I think we all start by playing with ourselves, and then it moves into that. And that's just probably how Craig would say, right?
Tim had to take a little more time. It's in here somewhere. You know, it's in here somewhere. Little Irish guy in here somewhere. Little man in the boat. Here we go. All right.
I learned from records. I listened to records. Obviously, Kiss records were a big part of that. The Rock and Roll Over is probably the one that I listened to the most of all the Kiss records, of learning different stuff. But and then just taking it in, and then I think that what a lot of people miss is not just about formal training, it's listening. And the best part, I think, as a musician that had ever happened is the fact that I put my guitar down, because even though I have had some formal lessons with Jimmy K from the K Trio, it's old stuff, but I learned to listen to the song. It's not about how fast you play. It's not a pissing contest. It's about the song. It's about how it hits your heartstring and how it becomes a part of our life. Just like all the music, whether it be Kiss or whatever band it is, it's about the music that you identify with that becomes a part of your soundtrack.
Right on. Well, there you go. And I want to say, on a personal note, as a huge rock music fan, it was always like, God, I want to meet my favorite bands, and it was so tough to meet people. And then sometimes you meet people, and then they wouldn't be nice. And every time I met you as a fan, you were so generous that I just always thought, I will support that guy for the rest of his life, because I felt and you were like that with everybody. So I don't think that was your intention. It's just who you are, and I just am really appreciative of that. So one more time for Mark Slaughter, everybody.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.